Now let's look at the thymus gland. It is a primary lymphoid organ. It is located within the mediastinum, in the inferior part of the neck and overlying the heart. It functions at peak levels only during childhood. Take a look at this table. Notice that between birth and puberty, the thymus increases in mass. It is growing. After puberty, though, it begins to decrease. At 70 years of age, the thymus has atrophied to only 5 grams. For this reason, elderly have lower immune responses than the young. As mentioned before, this is a primary lymphoid organ where T cells undergo their maturation. The thymus releases a hormone called thymosin that directs the T cell maturation process. Let's look at the structure. It consists of 2 lobes. If you look over on the right side, this is one lobe, this is another lobe. So it is bilobed. The prefix bi means 2. Each of the lobes is divided into smaller structures called lobules. So this is a lobule right here, and this is another one. You can see a lobule in the histology slide here. The lobules are separated from one another by connective tissue septa. A septum is a wall. And each lobule will have 2 regions, an outer darker region and an inner lighter region. The outer region is the cortex, and this is where lymphocytes are dividing. The inner region is the medulla, and it contains structures called thymic corpuscles. It is believed that at the thymic corpuscles, regulatory T cells develop. I'll talk about the role of regulatory T cells when we study immunity, but they basically turn off the immune response once the antigen has been removed, and they are important for preventing autoimmune diseases. In addition, there is a blood-thymus barrier, which is very similar to the blood-brain barrier. The thymus is different from other lymphoid organs in several ways. It is not involved in directly fighting antigens. In other words, this is not an organ where the lymphocytes will encounter their antigens. Instead, this is an organ where they undergo their maturation, where they become immunocompetent. It is important that lymphocytes do not encounter antigens or become activated before they finish this process and become immunocompetent. Since this is not an organ that is involved in fighting antigens, there will not be any follicles. Therefore, there will not be any B cells. Recall that B cells are located within the follicles. To prevent antigens from coming in contact with the lymphocytes, there is a blood-thymus barrier consisting of continuous capillaries. This prevents the antigens from leaving the blood and coming into contact with the T cells. In addition, there are no reticular fibers making up the stroma. Instead, there are epithelial fibers.